Hi guys, this is Eric from Luna Lab, and I want to give some credit to one of my top guys. This is Santiago. When I met him, he was working in a Pep Boys, and he's become our star mechanic, my go-to guy. We're really proud of the work he does, and it's one of the things that make our company so great. And Santiago, say hi to everybody. Say hi to Mom.
How you doing?
And one of the Luna stories is that before we just sold kits and batteries and sold a lot of kits, but we didn't really install that many kits. You remember those days?
Yeah.
It was like we mostly just got kits ready for shipping, and we'd install a few kits for customers, and we're decent at it, but we weren't that good because we weren't doing it every day. And we realized there's a lot of adapting that would happen, and we never did high-end mountain bikes or full suspension bikes. And the first challenge was somebody was slamming us on a forum, comparing us to a competitor's bike that was a giant bike, wasn't it? A giant Sans 2. And we said, forget that, like, we'll just go buy one and build one. And we'll have it on the website tomorrow. And that's exactly what we did. And it turned out to be one of the more difficult bikes to install a BBSHD on. And it was a learning lesson for us, and we kind of go, oh man, is it always going to be this hard? Don't you think that was probably the hardest one?
Probably one of the hardest builds.
Yeah, it's probably one of the hardest builds, and we noticed our competitors don't even offer it in a BBSHD. And I want to talk about what we went through as a company and how we adapted and how it made us a better company. And that now that we sell bikes, we're also a better kit vendor because we understand now more about the installation of the kits, and we can offer better parts for installing the kits, and offer more service or videos like this which explain what somebody's going through when they get into some of this. So the basic problem is modern full suspension bikes. The expensive bikes have the, what is it, the BB17 bottom bracket? Or the,
yeah, they have the press fit bearings.
Yeah, press fit bearings, really expensive stuff. And the BBSHD doesn't fit in any of that. So you have to rip all that out, and you have a gaping hole there, and it's a challenge to get everything to fit. Right? So Santiago, you want to explain some of the things that we did?
We basically took aluminum stock and machined it down to the measurement of the bottom bracket. That way it would take in the gap, and the motor would fit in there tight with no play.
And then we came into the next problem, which is once we got this piece in and we got this is press fit into the bottom bracket of the bike. Then the BBSHD would be fit in and held up against the bike. And not only that, we're having it on the Giant, we had to like grind out some of the bottom bracket. Wasn't that one of the ones because of the bearing?
Some of the bikes have the bearings press in, and they have a stop that has to be actually grounded out of the bottom bracket. The Giant doesn't have it, but the KHS 2500 does have it.
So each bike is starting to have all these weird problems, but the more parts that we have, the easier it becomes. Now Santiago came with this amazing idea. Do you want to explain to him what you did? Because the next problem we had is that the motor was actually slipping inside the bottom bracket, right?
Yeah.
And we know that one of our competitors, who we respect a lot, California Ebikes, had made a part which was a piece of sheet metal that would hold the drive into place, but it would require screwing into the frame. And for one, it wasn't our idea, and we thought we could come up with something more elegant. But in the meantime, Santiago came up with an in-between solution. Why don't you explain that one?
So I would just take these rabbit ears, cut the ears off, and make two of them as spacers. That way they would interlock and it would keep it from spinning. It would still bite into the bottom bracket.
Right. And that was a beautiful idea. He got applauded on our forums because one guy was actually machining the drive to make it fit, which would weaken the drive. And this one would work pretty darn good. But the problem, as some people know, is that this was biting in, well, why don't you explain it?
It was biting into the aluminum spacer, not into the actual bottom bracket. So it was still allowing it to spin freely. So on the new piece, it's one solid piece, and it has a spacer grounded into it. That way it bites right onto the aluminum, not just the bottom bracket.
And at this point, we're doing a lot of hand machining. It's taking us about an hour apart to make it in a manual lathe. And we know that we need to get some CNC parts made. So our first idea was to get these parts made, and we got them solid worked out, and we changed the design a little bit. We cut off the ears, and we go, to save us some time and get these made so we can sell them to the public. But then we started thinking, well, why don't we just design a whole new part? And what we did is we came up with what we have today, which is the ultimate solution. Here we go.
So the new one has
Ridges.
they have ridges and they interlock with each other. That way it keeps it from spinning.
Now this is a completely tight fitting right here. So once this is screwed in, that drive is not rotating. The only chance of it rotating is if this is press fit in. This is built to 1/1000 tolerance, so that you kind of got to hammer it in, and this shouldn't move. But we were thinking we can even mount drives upside down or any which way if we epoxy this into the bottom bracket and make it permanent, right? And the other thing we did is we made two different sizes. Go ahead, Santiago.
Yeah, this is 9 millimeters, and this one is 4 millimeters.
So what this does is it makes our production bikes more solid, to where we hear, oh, you always have to tighten down BBSHDs, and when people buy a production bike, they're not expecting to have to do that. For one, we provide toolkits with all of our bikes so that customers can work on their own bikes. We are an e-commerce company. We're shipping these bikes. And the fact is, wherever you buy your bike, I don't care what they say their warranty is, they're not going to be able to work on your bike from like 300 or 1,000 miles away, and you're never going to want to send in your bike. So the bottom line is, if you're going to buy a bike and have it shipped to you mail order, you're going to have to be able to work on that bike. Now, we think our bikes are as solid as they can be, and using devices like this, we think that we can get it so tight in there the first time, it's not going to need much tightening, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to be pretty solid.
Yeah, it actually presses against the bottom bracket because it's made a little bit shorter than the bottom bracket is. So it's made to like 91 millimeters. The bottom bracket on Giant is 92 millimeters. So it actually presses up against it and doesn't bottom out on the motor.
Right. And what this does for us as a company is, one, it makes Santiago's job easier to make a bike. So he does all the custom fabrication that we need. So when we have all the parts ready to go, we grab them, we can throw a bike together really quickly. Now, if you're buying a bike and you buy one of these full suspension bikes and you're going to take that problem on, I think it's going to be a pretty hard problem. But if you have parts like this, or if you have tools like our videos to help you, then it's going to be a lot easier. And basically that is what's happened when Unicycles started selling bikes. And I went back and forth. I almost stopped selling bikes when we started selling bikes, because it was such a pain, and it really adds to our workload. And each bike takes us about 4 or 5 hours to build, an hour to get ready for shipping. How long does it take to get a bike ready for shipping, you think?
For shipping, it's about an hour. You got to disassemble it and get it back in the box.
Yeah, and we wrap every part so that it doesn't get shipping damage, and we pretty much learned what it takes to sell a bike, and it's hard. But more than that, we've also learned how to build bikes, how to install our own kits. Which, even though we had an idea how to do it before, I think right now we've gone to a level to where we think we can just get past anything. Like, we think we could install them on a carbon bike if we need to. We have the machinery here to CNC parts. And what that's going to translate to is not just better bike that's production level quality that we think stands up to anything quality wise when you buy it, but it's also going to make us a better parts vendors, because we're going to be able to offer parts like these, which we're going to be putting on the website tonight, so that when a builder builds a bike, you can buy these parts from us, and it's not going to just be proprietary that we keep our hocus pocus that that we don't tell anybody how we do it. It's exactly how we did it. And it works for us, and it'll work for you. Thank you, everybody, and thank you to Santiago for being the genius to come up with these ideas. And
Okay.
And we'll see you next time at the Luna Lab.